Greetings. Here I am again, your professor for English 101 online, to talk about your next set of assignments due July 19th, tomorrow, Friday. The first thing that we are going to do is we are going to take a quiz. Now, this is an easy quiz. It's a quiz about your experience in getting to know your classmates. You will be asked to write 2 paragraphs. I'll give you, I think, 40 minutes to do that. Each paragraph should be about 125 words. When I give you a word limit, I'd like you to follow that word limit with plus or minus 5 words. That's always good. Pay attention to word limits when I give them to you. Sometimes I will not give you word limits. I'll give you page limits. So pay attention to whether or not the assignments are word limits or page limits. Okay, that said, take the quiz. It's really easy. You're going to be writing 2 paragraphs. You have 40 minutes. It's a quiz. I believe it's worth 25 points, maybe 30. You'll find out. I can't remember. Sorry about that. And once you take the quiz, you will have your first lecture, a short lecture. The lecture explains the reading process heuristic. And have you heard this word before? Heuristic? Heuristic is a step-by-step process. Like when you go to IKEA and you buy something that you have to put together, you get directions. And following those directions are a heuristic that tell you what to do first, second, third, and fourth in order to put something together. That's a heuristic. Well, we have a reading process heuristic that will help us become really successful college readers if we follow it. It's kind of a tool that we should be using in college as we read our college materials. So I will explain that heuristic to you in the video, as well as it is listed out on the course website under the video on a page in the course website. So work through the video and make sure you understand the material in the video. It's very important material for you. Well, everything is important in here, isn't it? Teachers think everything is important. Whether you think it's important or not, teachers think it's important. And after you do the lecture, I want you to read chapter 1 again very carefully using the reading process heuristic. We've already done the first part of it where you've read it, you've previewed it, you've read it through quickly, and then you do a more careful reading so that you understand everything, and maybe you read it a third time, and well, that's kind of the heuristic, and you need to do that with this chapter because you will be participating in a discussion over some of the material in this chapter, and then of course on Saturday you will be doing another quiz, taking another quiz over the material in this chapter. So it's really important that you use the heuristic to become as familiar with this chapter as you possibly can. Now, what the chapter does, let me tell you a little bit about what I think the chapter 1 is doing, and this will help you as you work through chapter 1 on your own. When we read text, it's really important to read so that we understand it, and that's what we do during critical reading. We read to understand the text. And after we understand it, of course, we want to remember the most important points from the text. And oftentimes we'll be asked to evaluate and form opinions about what we're reading so that when we go to class, we can talk about what we've read, we can write about what we've read, and we can take tests about what we've read. So chapter 1 sort of goes through that as well as explain, as well as it's about the reading process heuristic. So after you have worked through chapter 1 more carefully, not quickly, but more carefully. Then I want you to participate in a discussion over Chapter 1. And this won't take that much time. You will go into the discussion, and there are 5 questions. You're going to choose one question and write a paragraph about that one question. Now, which question do you choose? You should choose the question that has the least responses. So look at the questions and see how many responses each question has, and then choose the one question that has the least responses. That's fairly simple. You may not get the question that you want, but in order to keep it balanced so that by the time everyone does this, every question should have approximately the same number of responses, and this will help you when you take your test. Now, when you take your quiz on Saturday. Now, another thing that is important is that you write your response in your own words. Don't copy anything from the book. Don't quote from the book. Also, don't read your classmates' responses until you've made your response, because that will influence you as to what you're going to be writing. So don't do that. I would like to hide your classmates' responses, but the program doesn't allow me to do that. So don't read your classmates' responses. Write in your own words. This also will be awarded points. Finally, before I take leave of you, let me mention again about deadlines. Deadlines are very important. Now, in the first 3 days of this class, I've been fairly lenient with regard to deadlines. I've given you all some extensions. And the reason I've been giving extensions on the deadlines for the first 3 days is because new students have been joining the class, as students who originally signed up for the class have dropped out. So we have reached a point where I will not take any new students, so there will be no further deadline extensions. Keep that in mind. Regardless of what other commitments you have, I cannot make deadline extensions, I'm sorry. And the reason is because I'm working with 90 students right now. So I can't just, it technically takes a lot of time and somewhat difficult to change the deadlines for individual students. It just doesn't work very well, unfortunately. I'm sorry about the camera moving around and you. Anyway, I'm almost finished here. Be patient. So now, these deadlines are really important with regards to any assignment that gets points. Now, when we start doing an assignment where I give you a letter grade, you also have to meet the deadlines. Okay. However, if you don't, meet a deadline for a letter grade, you have to do that assignment anyway, or you won't pass the course. If you don't meet an assignment that gets points, I just ignore it, and then you can make up the points by doing extra credit. That's what goes on with that kind of thing. If you have any questions about this, please, by all means, send me a message. If you have any questions about anything, send me a message. Every question is a good one, and I'm sorry if you find sometimes my instructions are a little confusing. Be patient again and ask me, and I'll try to clarify as best I can. Finally, do not work ahead. Don't work to the next set of assignments until I have posted them on the home page. And I send you a message to say that you are now ready to begin the set of assignments for the next day. Some of you go into announcements and you find announcements from the class I taught during the winter session, and those announcements don't apply. So don't go looking at those announcements and try doing the assignments ahead, because it doesn't work. Okay, not all of them are open, and it just causes a lot of problems. I hope everybody understands that. Any questions? send me a message. We'll see you online.